Welcome to the Radio Revenue Podcast.
Mm.
I'm incredibly glad you could join us today because we have a truly fascinating deep dive lined up for you. We are going to be analyzing a massive stack of documents today.
We really are a very dense stack.
Specifically, the highly detailed 2025 Form 10-K filed with the SEC by Caterpillar, Inc.
And I know what you might be thinking. A 131-page financial disclosure document doesn't immediately sound like a thrill ride.
It sounds a bit like homework.
It does. These filings, however, are incredible resources. They strip away the corporate marketing and expose the actual unvarnished DNA of a global entity.
Exactly. Our mission for this deep dive is to look right past that iconic yellow machinery. We want to uncover the massive financial, technological, and geopolitical engine running one of the world's biggest companies.
If it really is an engine.
I will tease you with this up front. This is not simply about a company that manufactures equipment to move dirt. We are talking about a conglomerate that is quietly acting as its own bank, navigating highly sophisticated global cyber threats, and executing a massive $790 million software acquisition just weeks ago.
It serves as a masterclass in modern global business architecture. When you look at Caterpillar, you are essentially looking at a bellwether for the entire global economy.
Yeah.
Their machines build the macro infrastructure, mine the critical commodities, and generate the power that keeps the world moving. Understanding the underlying mechanics of how they operate provides you with a sharp lens into the broader macroeconomic picture.
Okay, let's unpack this because the sheer scale of Caterpillar's 2025 financial results is staggering.
Staggering is the right word.
We're looking at $67.589 billion in total sales and revenues for 2025. That represents a 4% increase from 2024.
And what stands out even more is that they generated an immense $11.7 billion in operating cash flow.
Wow, over $11 billion.
Yes. Operating cash flow is the actual liquid cash generated by regular business operations. It's distinct from paper profits. Having nearly $12 billion in liquid cash means they possess the ultimate corporate armor.
Right, to weather economic storms.
Exactly. They can aggressively buy back stock or fund massive research and development without relying on expensive debt.
Just to put that into perspective for you, if you had invested $100 in cat stock at the end of 2020 and reinvested your dividends, it would be worth $346.12 by the end of 2025.
That is incredible growth.
They completely crushed the broader S&P 500 index over that same 5-year period.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is vital to analyze exactly where that growth is originating because their revenue streams are far from uniform.
They really aren't.
Caterpillar breaks its primary machinery business down into 3 main segments. First, you have construction industries. This is what most people picture. The excavators, the backhoes, the standard job site equipment.
The classic yellow trucks.
Exactly. Interestingly, this segment was actually down 2% in 2025, falling to $25 billion. The 10K explicitly notes this was largely due to unfavorable price realization.
Which essentially means they were facing severe pricing pressures.
Right.
They either couldn't push through price hikes to match inflation, or they were forced to offer steep discounts in certain highly competitive global markets just to maintain their market share.
Precisely.
They're fighting trench warfare against specialized local competitors, particularly in markets like China, which directly compresses their profit margins.
You then have their second segment, which is resource industries. This covers the massive mining trucks and heavy extraction equipment used in large-scale global commodity mining.
And how did that fare?
That segment was completely flat at $12.4 billion for the year. The real growth engine, the segment that absolutely carried the day, was power and energy.
Okay.
That segment surged 12% to a massive $32.2 billion. That growth was driven by intense, sustained demand in power generation and oil and gas. We are talking about everything from heavy-duty reciprocating engines to industrial gas turbines and diesel-electric locomotives.
So the power and energy side is completely outperforming the traditional construction side.
Without a doubt.
But I have to bring up a statistic from the report that completely stopped me in my tracks. It is their order backlog.
Oh, yes, the backlog.
At the end of 2024, Caterpillar had a backlog of $30 billion. By the end of 2025, that backlog had skyrocketed to a staggering $51.2 billion.
It is a remarkable figure. For context, that means they have roughly 9 months' worth of total company revenue just sitting in the queue waiting to be built and delivered.
Just waiting.
What is crucial for you to understand about their future stability is the timeline of that backlog. The 10K specifies that nearly $20 billion of that order book, $19.3 billion to be exact, is not even expected to be filled until after 2026.
See, I have to push back on this being a purely positive metric.
Go ahead.
A $51 billion backlog sounds fantastic for investor relations, but doesn't having orders backed up past 2026 actually signal a severe supply chain failure?
That is a very valid point.
I mean, if customers are waiting 2 or 3 years for a turbine or a mining truck, aren't they at a massive risk of those customers jumping ship to competitors who can deliver the equipment today?
That is the exact tension this document reveals. You are highlighting the dual nature of a backlog. On one hand, it confirms absolutely massive future demand for their products, particularly in that power and energy segment. It locks in future revenue.
Right.
On the other hand, it highlights incredible sustained supply chain pressures. When your order book stretches out past 2026, it introduces massive risks around securing raw materials, managing component shortages, and forecasting production costs over a multi-year horizon.
Because things change.
Exactly. If steel prices spike in 2026, but the price of that backlog machine was locked in back in 2024, Caterpillar's margins take the hit.
Here's where it gets really interesting. When you think of Caterpillar, you instinctively think of manufacturing. Steel, diesel, factories.
Sure.
The source material reveals something entirely different. Caterpillar isn't just a manufacturer. They operate a massive, highly sophisticated financial institution directly inside the tractor company, known as Cat Financial.
They do. Their financial products segment generated $4.22 billion in revenue in 2025.
That's huge.
To put that into perspective, that makes Cat Financial larger than many traditional regional banks. They provide retail and wholesale financing to customers and dealers all over the world.
Let's break down what wholesale inventory financing actually means, because it's a brilliant structural advantage. It is essentially floor plan financing.
Right.
When a local Caterpillar dealer wants to stock 10 massive excavators on their lot, they usually don't have the tens of millions of dollars in cash to buy them outright from corporate.
Most wouldn't.
So Cat Financial steps in and provides the loan to the dealer to buy the inventory. Then, when a construction company walks onto the lot to buy one of those excavators, Cat Financial turns around and provides the retail loan to the construction company.
Yes.
They capture the financing interest on both ends of the transaction.
It is remarkably similar to how automotive giants operate entities like Ford Motor Credit, but scaled up for macro infrastructure and mining conglomerates.
It's fascinating.
They also structure complex tax and non-tax leases, and they offer revolving charge accounts so customers can continually finance parts and service at local dealers without ever leaving the Caterpillar financial ecosystem.
And it does not stop at lending either.
Yeah.
They operate their own insurance arms, Caterpillar Insurance Company and Caterpillar Life Insurance Company.
Right.
They provide physical damage insurance for the machines, extended service coverage, and employee benefits. The 10K even details that they use a captive insurance company domiciled in Bermuda to reinsure their international employee benefit plans.
Yes, they do.
Wait, a captive insurance company in Bermuda? That sounds like a hedge fund strategy, not a heavy machinery manufacturer.
It really does sound like that, but it is a highly efficient corporate finance strategy. A captive insurance company is simply a wholly owned subsidiary created to provide insurance to its parent company.
Okay.
By domiciling it in Bermuda, they take advantage of a regulatory environment optimized for capital efficiency and risk pooling. Instead of paying massive premiums to a third-party commercial insurer to cover their thousands of international employees, Caterpillar essentially pays those premiums to itself.
That is incredibly smart.
They retain the underwriting profits, maintaining strict control over their cash flow.
But operating a massive internal bank naturally exposes them to a whole new class of vulnerabilities. Because they are lending billions of dollars, they face intense interest rate risk.
Absolutely.
When global central banks are constantly adjusting interest rates, a lending portfolio of that magnitude could become a liability.
To mitigate this, Cat Financial utilizes a strict match funding policy. They meticulously align the interest rate profile of their debt portfolio with their receivables portfolio.
Right, because if they're lending money to a mining company at a fixed interest rate for 5 years, but Caterpillar's own borrowing costs are floating, a sudden central bank rate hike completely wipes out their profit margin.
Exactly. To fix that, the filings show they use complex interest rate derivative instruments.
Derivatives.
Yes. Essentially, they enter into financial swap contracts with major investment banks to trade their floating rate exposure for a fixed rate. By matching the duration and the rate type, whether fixed or floating, they artificially lock in their margins.
Imagine buying a house, but the builder also provides your mortgage.
And your home insurance.
Yes. And on top of that, they finance the local hardware store's inventory where you buy your supplies. That is Caterpillar's ecosystem.
That is the crucial takeaway. No matter which way global interest rates swing, the spread between what Cat Financial earns on its loans and what it pays on its debt remains perfectly stable. It is a brilliant, highly insulated ecosystem.
So what does this all mean when things inevitably go wrong? Let's examine the operational threats outlined for 2025. While the revenue numbers and financial engineering are impressive, the list of macroeconomic threats they are actively fighting is substantial.
What's fascinating here is how remarkably specific the 10K gets about these vulnerabilities. We touched on commodity price volatility earlier. Caterpillar is a voracious consumer of raw steel.
Huge amounts of steel.
If global steel prices suddenly spike and they cannot immediately pass those costs on to the customer due to the competitive pressures we discussed in the construction segment, their profit margins shrink.
They also explicitly cite semiconductor shortages.
Yes. A modern piece of heavy machinery is essentially a rolling supercomputer. A highly specific microchip shortage in Taiwan directly halts a massive tractor assembly line in Illinois.
Beyond the supply chain, the risk that surely stands out in the modern era is the cyber threat. Caterpillar explicitly warns about sophisticated cybersecurity attacks and advanced persistent threats.
It's a major focus for them.
They are not merely worried about a hacker stealing corporate emails or compromising their internal HR networks. They specifically call out the risk of attacks targeting the actual hardware and software installed in their machines.
The implications of that are staggering. It emphasizes exactly how much of an integrated technology company Caterpillar has become. Protecting the integrity and reliability of the software in their products is now just as critical, if not more so, than the physical quality of their steel.
Think about the mechanics of a cyber-physical attack. We are not talking about a frozen laptop screen.
No, not at all.
We are talking about a highly coordinated hack targeting a fleet of autonomous 100-ton mining trucks operating in a remote quarry. If a bad actor gains control of the machine's operational software, it transforms from a piece of equipment into a massive kinetic weapon.
It's terrifying to think about.
The physical safety implications and the resulting legal liability are astronomical. Cybersecurity is no longer just an IT issue for them. It is a fundamental physical safety requirement.
Exactly. And navigating these global risks also involves massive bureaucratic hurdles. The source material highlights the intense complexity of global business compliance.
Yes, I want to point out a highly specific nugget buried deep in the report.
Go for it.
In 2025, Caterpillar, a company that generated over $67 billion in revenue, made a payment of exactly $608 to the Intellectual Property Center in Iran.
That detail perfectly illustrates the rigid realities of international law. To provide the context here impartially, exactly as it is outlined in the source material, the United States enforces strict economic sanctions against Iran.
Right.
However, Caterpillar secured a very specific, limited license from the U.S. Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, known as OFAC.
Just for this fee.
Exactly. This license strictly authorized Caterpillar to make this precise $608 payment to the Iranian Intellectual Property Office for one reason only, to protect their trademark.
They are absolutely not selling equipment or conducting business operations there.
The filing makes it explicitly clear that Caterpillar generates zero revenue and zero profit from this activity. It is a purely defensive legal maneuver.
Just protecting the brand.
If you own one of the most recognized global brand names, you are forced to protect your trademark in every jurisdiction, even heavily sanctioned ones. Failing to do so opens the door to counterfeiting or outright brand theft. It is a fascinating glimpse into the bureaucratic reality of protecting a global corporate identity.
A $67 billion titan navigating international sanctions over a $600 filing fee. It highlights the absurdities of global scale.
It really does.
Let's pivot from the geopolitical to the human element, because managing this colossal machine requires an immense workforce. At the end of 2025, Caterpillar employed roughly 118,000 full-time people worldwide.
That is a small city.
The geographical distribution is notable. A majority of them, about 66,400 employees, are located outside of the United States.
Managing a physical manufacturing workforce of that magnitude across dozens of different countries presents a severe logistical challenge. You are dealing with varying labor laws, diverse cultural norms, and disparate operational standards.
Absolutely.
Unifying that workforce requires a rigorous, non-negotiable safety culture. The 10K notes their recordable injury frequency rate dropped to 0.41 in 2025, an improvement from 0.43 the year before.
In a heavy manufacturing environment, keeping an injury rate below half a point requires extreme operational discipline.
It does.
Safety isn't just corporate public relations, it is a direct driver of profitability. An injury on a manufacturing line halts production, triggering a cascade of delays that exacerbates that $51 billion backlog we talked about.
Right.
Maintaining a 0.41 safety rating directly protects their $11.7 billion operating cash flow by minimizing downtime and reducing insurance claims.
This raises an important question. If Caterpillar possesses this incredibly disciplined global workforce and their traditional heavy machinery business is generating record backlogs, where are they allocating their capital next?
That is the big question.
Because the answer is decidedly not just more steel factories.
It is not. This brings us to what might be the most revealing detail in the entire document. Under the subsequent events section, detailing events that occurred in February 2026, after the 2025 fiscal year officially closed, Caterpillar announced a massive $790 million acquisition of an Australian company called RPM Global Holdings.
RPM Global is a pure software company. They are recognized leaders in mining technology, scheduling, and data-driven software solutions.
Almost $1 billion for software.
Yes. This $790 million purchase serves as a definitive proof point for Caterpillar's revised enterprise strategy. The filings explicitly state their goal is to position themselves as an advanced technology leader.
Advanced technology leader.
They are aggressively developing proprietary fleet management software, equipment management analytics, and advanced autonomous machine capabilities.
They are essentially taking the razor and blades business model and applying it to macro infrastructure.
That's a great way to put it.
You are no longer simply buying a piece of physical hardware from Caterpillar. You are buying the truck, financing it through their internal bank, insuring it through their offshore captive insurance company, and now you are locked into running that equipment using their proprietary software subscriptions and data analytics platforms.
It represents total lifecycle integration. They are actively transitioning from a traditional heavy metal manufacturer into a highly integrated technology and data company.
It's a huge shift.
By bringing RPM Global's deep domain-specific software expertise in-house, Caterpillar is ensuring that the digital brain of a mining operation is just as much a Caterpillar product as the physical tires and the diesel engine.
It is a phenomenal corporate evolution. We have covered a staggering amount of ground today, analyzing a $51 billion backlog, an internal bank shielded by complex derivative hedges, physical cybersecurity threats, offshore captive insurance, and a $790 million pivot into software engineering.
It fundamentally changes how you perceive the company. I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Please do.
The next time you drive past a massive construction site or see footage of a global mining operation and you catch a glimpse of that iconic yellow paint, I challenge you to look a little closer.
Look past the dirt.
Exactly. Do not just see a diesel engine moving dirt. See a highly calibrated data-gathering node operating within a $67 billion global network. Realize that this physical machine is backed by its own internal bank, insulated from global inflation by a complex derivative hedges, and increasingly driven by autonomous software. It begs the question, is the future of heavy industry actually just disguised as software engineering?
You will certainly never look at a bulldozer the same way again. It was a Revenue Radio podcast. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated with our latest analyses.